Numerous items found in the sorcerer's collection performed their spell on the human eye, gateway to the soul. From before the reckoning of time, the earth had been home to more species than the mortal eye could count, but some extremely rare medicines improved human vision and allowed it to get a glimpse of this magical world. Jenny of Zenor, a girl from Cornwall, was one who unintentionally peered into that country. Jenny was the daughter of a poor fisherman. He worked hard, but his only true asset was his brood of stunning children. Jenny was the smallest, a lovely, carefree young girl who frolicked barefoot on the sand. When she was old enough to notice the other girls had new gowns and hair bows, she began to question her life. As she outgrew her sister's hand-me-downs, she also outgrew the basic pleasures of her father's home by the sea. Her mother pleaded with her to remain with the familiar fisher folk, but naive Jenny was resolved to make a life for herself among the wealthy farmers who served steak for dinner rather than winkles and fish. As she had nothing really to call her own, she simply started walking one morning up the Lady Downs. She started off quickly and lightly, but after many hours and miles of walking, she became tired and stopped to rest at a crossroads. The downs spread out around her, wide open fields and deserted road as far as she could see. She had just settled herself, drowsy with sleep, when a voice came to her, just as she closed her eyes. Jenny leapt to her feet. A man was standing above her, smiling. Jenny could tell he was a gentleman by his glittering leather boots and the soft wool of his coat. She curtsied in respectful silence, though she was longing to ask how he had come upon her so unexpectedly. The man inquired where Jenny was heading, and when she replied, he grinned. He went on to tell her that he had gone out that very day to look for a girl to look after his home because he was a widower with a little son who needed care. His cozy home, complete with fireplace and well-stocked pantry, would make Jenny's responsibilities easy. The young woman responded with a nod and "Yes, sir," as he spoke. Mother had instructed her on what to say to a gentleman. Soon after, she found herself following him. Though she had not rested, Jenny felt refreshed, even after they had been walking for a while. Presently, they came to a gate in a high wall. They entered the garden that was more beautiful than anything Jenny had seen or even imagined. As they passed together through the gate, Jenny saw blossoming flowers of all colors, which seemed like a silk rug cast at her feet. There were fruit trees with espaliered branches, laden with luscious apples, pears, and plums, all fanned out against the garden wall. They were ripe for the picking. The flowers and fruits of springs intermingled with those of summer and fall in this garden, which appeared to have no particular season. Jenny flushed at the gentleman's courtesy as he held open the door to his manor house. Now acting as her master, he beckoned to his son inside the elegant hall. The child, who couldn't have been older than 3, responded to Jenny's hopeful smile with a cold, penetrating gaze. The man explained the simple task and easy pleasure of her new life. She would sleep in the child's room, caring for him throughout the day, while she cooked and tended the garden. Her boss claimed that there were few but rigorous rules. She was not allowed to open her eyes at night. She was unable to wander into any of the numerous rooms whose doors were usually locked. The boy's eyes must be cleaned with an ointment every morning, but she must never let it contact her own. The following day, Jenny started working. In a spring at the base of the garden, she gave the boy a bath. She discovered there a box made of ice-clear crystal in the neighboring rock fissure where her master instructed her to look. The brilliant green paste within gave off a light, unpleasant aroma when she opened it. The boy squirmed and writhed in her arms before she finally applied the eye ointment. He immediately fell silent and began to stare into the void past Jenny. For the remainder of the day he paid her little attention, but she kept herself occupied in the garden as he engaged in his alone time. Over the course of some weeks, Jenny spent an increasing amount of time in the garden as she grew accustomed to the housework. The teacher was frequently there, ready to bestow a kiss on his lovely servant in appreciation. Every day after giving the boy a bath, Applying lubricant to his eyes, she would pause to take in the remarkable results. Eventually, her curiosity reached a breaking point. After the boy's bath and he had gone, Jenny took her time putting the crystal box back where it belonged. After making sure she was alone, she finally made her decision. She massaged some of the eye ointment into her own eyes. She staggered as a searing pain tore through them. Jenny stumbled towards the spring. After repeatedly bathing her face, she found she could finally open her eyes without pain. As she looked, she noticed little people, men and women who could fit inside her thimble, there, beneath the soft bubbling spring surface. Jenny crouched down near the river and observed the sprites spinning and dancing there. One of the men was surrounded by a group of women who kissed and petted him. Jenny took one look at the tiny person and immediately recognized her master. She turned aside, her tears of rage now burning her eyes. She had been residing with fairies, naughty, evil beings. She accepted the warmth and kisses of her master, which seemed so majestic, but he was actually a being as elusive as dew or moonlight, not a man at all. Running through the garden, she reached the house. She could see fairies playing and frolicking all about her in the flowers, grass, and treetops. After closing the kitchen door behind her, she gathered herself close to the fire. When evening arrived, and with it her master, appearing once more in friendly human form, as he bent to kiss her cheek, Jenny smacked him and sobbed that he should save his attentions for the female fairies, who so obviously appreciated them. When the fairy man realized what she had done, he withdrew from her and bowed his head pitifully. The serving girl, whose curiosity outweighed her loyalty, was impossible for him to keep. Early the following morning, he returned her to the crossroads, where he had first seen her. Jenny returned safely to her family after he left her, but like many mortals who had glimpsed the world of the fairies, she lingered on, yearning to see the creatures just once more. There were other potions which had an opposite effect from the ungut Jenny used, which allowed her to look into the realm which was often hidden from mortals. Certain elements of the scene in front of the victim's eyes may occasionally be obscured by them. More severely, they might broaden the beholder's field of vision, allowing him to perceive a reality totally hidden underneath outward appearances.